For many people, the idea of going off on a rugged, beautiful motorcycle adventure is the antidote to their pedestrian suburban existence. Older males, I'm looking directly at you. This seems to be the lifestyle that motorcycle manufacturers are most comfortable pushing onto riders nowadays. You'll see travel documentaries, YouTube series, and all sorts of content promoting this rugged, adventurous lifestyle. These bikes are just as home-crushing highway miles as they are on the twisty roads or on the beaten path. But are ADV bikes really all they're cracked up to be? If you've never ridden one, are they just jack of all trades, kind of compromising in every field, or are the popularity of these bikes really justified? As a sport bike guy, I kind of think they're a little bit overrated. But in full disclosure, I own a Scrambler, which is kind of a bad adventure bike anyways. You've seen the memes, we've made the jokes. Let's dive into the culture of adventure bikes on today's video and dispel some myths and talk about these machines from the perspective of a dyed-in-the-wool sport bike guy and part-time scrambler. Let's start with the big picture here. Every motorcycle is designed to appeal to some riders' specific sensibilities, tendencies, or desire for a specific flavor. Motorcycling is very niche nowadays. You can find very specific bikes to do very specific things. And that's okay, because motorcycles are emotional purchases and people really want them to do specific things and to appeal to their sensibilities. But don't get too lost in the spec sheets. Sport bike riders are wont to continuously buy 200 plus horsepower machines that they'll never take on track or experience what they can truly do. Harley riders will keep buying cruisers just to get that sweet HD badge, even though their bikes are a little underpowered and a little overpriced. And despite all the jokes and memes, Harley guys will keep being Harley guys at the end of the day. And ADV riders are no different. They know that their bike is probably not gonna see as much dirt as they would like. They're probably not gonna do coast to coast adventures every other month, but they like to buy into the dream. They're attracted to the idea and the aesthetic of the what if factor. And that what if factor is the idea of, oh, what if I have the opportunity to do some massive transcontinental trip? What if I need to tackle a rugged gravel road on my commute? What if I really need the long travel suspension that my bike has? This type of thinking is what leads people to purchase ADV bikes. And they're willing to pay the premium for the entire time they own the bike, even if they only use it for those specific things a handful of times. Manufacturers are very quick to exploit this allure, just like they do with sport bikes. Sport bikes are packaged and sold in a way that adheres them to homologated rules for racing. That means manufacturers build these bikes so that they go and take them out on track and go win races. And they know full well that the average Kyle is not going to appreciate the suspension components, top-of-the-line braking, and true peak horsepower that these motorcycles have. The vast majority of the sport bike guys are going to do 60 to 160 pulls on the highways with their buddies. You can say that every motorcyclist is cosplaying to some degree, but you could argue that making the entry into true adventure riding, which gatekeepers, let me know down in the comments below what a true adventure is actually more difficult than a sport bike using it to some degree, going to a twisty canyon road or a track day. I mean, some riders don't even live 100 miles of a forest road or a gravel road they can actually take their adventure bike on. Here in Texas, for example, the vast majority of land is completely private, meaning that you can't even access it with an adventure bike. I don't even know why anybody would own an adventure bike in Texas. Adventure bikes really have become the SUV of the motorcycling world. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that 99% of them are going to do relatively pedestrian everyday tasks, but they have a rugged allure of a trail-oriented machine. I mean, an SUV nowadays is a sport utility vehicle, but they're just cosplaying as trail machines. SUVs eclipsed minivans and station wagons as a de facto family vehicle, and now smaller SUVs called crossovers have eclipsed even sedans, so now pretty much everybody drives an SUV, and I'm seeing this trend in the motorcycling world as well. Because adventure bikes are so similar to SUVs in the sense that you're going to have to dish out quite a bit of money to actually do real adventure things with them, in terms of the accessories you're gonna need to put on this motorcycle. And look, motorcyclists love modifying their bikes. There's no doubt about that, but ADV guys really like modifying their motorcycles. I'm talking about going balls to the wall to the parts catalog and dragging your bike through it. And look, anybody can go buy a bone stock ADV bike and take it around town or some light gravel roads and have some fun with it, but real adventure motorcyclists on YouTube know that the only way to have a real adventure is to outfit your bike in serious parts. We're talking hard pannier luggage, we're talking comfort seats, we're talking exhaust, crash protection, frames, sliders, rally lights, all sorts of features on these bikes to make it truly adventure capable. Never mind the fact that you can take a bone stock 400cc single cylinder little beater bike and do whatever adventure you want with it with a backpack on your back. No. To have a real adventure, you need the accessories. Many adventure bike riders buy into this consumerism. They start advocating for the consumption community, saying that you need this sparkle or that sparkle to go and have a real adventure. But you have this fully kitted out bike that you don't do a whole lot with. It's kind of like those guys with the crazy lifted Jeeps and the skid plates and the ladders on the side and the camping gear. I'm sure some of them have really rugged, crazy adventures, but the vast majority of them have the moniker of mall crawler for a reason. Now look, everyone's free to modify or equip their motorcycle as much or as little as they want. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. All I'm saying is that you could probably save yourself a couple of bucks if you were more realistic with your expectations and your need of equipment. Because I hate to break it to you, and this is the through line of this video, for the vast majority of people, a fully equipped adventure bike isn't even the right tool for the job. Let me explain what I mean by talking about the humble sport touring machine. Some might have forgotten that this is a purposeful category in motorcycling and not just a long forgotten about tire category. Sport touring bikes really are the optimal solution for what people are actually doing with their adventure bikes. They have comfortable ergonomics, have lots of luggage options, and are usually catered towards people trying to do long distance riding. Most famously, I recently did a review of the Yamaha Tracer 9 GT, a sport touring machine that in my opinion had me feeling wanting nothing else if you were going to do a long transcontinental trip. The issue is, sport touring bikes just aren't as cool as adventure bikes. They don't fit the rugged, cool aesthetic that a lot of people are looking for, and they certainly don't have the what if factor. What if you encounter a water crossing on your transcontinental journey? What if you find yourself in the middle of South America and only a 21-inch front end is going to be able to roll over certain rocks and obstacles in your path? Sport touring bikes are far superior to adventure bikes for everyday riding. Consider the fact that they have 17-inch wheels front and rear, making those tires way cheaper, and also they're tubeless on cast wheels. If you've ever messed around with a tubed tire on a long distance ride, if you catch a flat, it's going to be bad. On top of that too, the fact that they don't have super long travel suspension means that you get a better feel at the front end when you're actually riding on road. What has 3 cylinders, an Öhlins rear shock, and enough torque to rotate the earth beneath you? Why, it's the MT-09 SP giveaway bike on yammynoob.co, of course. We finally have one of these as a giveaway and you're not going to want to miss it. Head over to the website and get 10x entries for every dollar you spend. We've got hats, t-shirts, keychains, but best of all, I recommend becoming a member to join our community and get automatic entries to win. You can stack them up and apply them to giveaways and they never expire. We have some amazing bikes coming up that you're not going to want to miss. 3-day giveaways, top shelf leader bikes, and much more to round out this year. So head over to yammynoob.co and get 10x entries to win the MT-09 SP giveaway. On top of that too, 17-inch wheels front and rear make the motorcycle dynamically much more fun to ride because it tips in faster and doesn't have that kind of lumbering feel that a 21-inch wheel would have. Now, a lot of motorcycle manufacturers have made adventure bikes that are very quick and nimble. You know, the Touareg 660 handles very well, but it still pales in comparison to a proper sport touring motorcycle. And manufacturers have kind of figured this out, and they kind of cross-sell both of these bikes on the same platform. Triumph's Tiger GT is the sport touring version of the Tiger Rally Pro. You have the Ducati Multistrada V4S as well, sold alongside the Desert X, which is really their adventure bike offering. The Versys as well doesn't have a adventure bike counterpart, but you could argue that the KLR 650 is their adventure motorcycle. But all these bikes have 17-inch wheels and are much more sport-oriented and way nicer to ride down the road, which is what you're going to be doing 98% of the time with this machine. The other thing to consider too is that sport touring bikes are almost always cheaper than adventure bike models, new for new. And if you're looking at the used market, sport touring bikes are a dime a dozen and nobody really wants them, so you can pick them up for way cheaper. But I already hear you. Yam, I actually want to ride off-road. Well, let me talk about the humble dual sport then. If you're actually serious about riding off-road, an adventure bike is a handful. And I don't care what people say online about it's just an issue in skill or you just need to learn how to ride. It is more fun and more simple and more friendly to ride a 280-pound dual sport motorcycle than a 540-pound behemoth of a BMW adventure bike off-road. There are ADV-specific schools and training that people go through because it is so challenging to ride these big bikes off-road. And God forbid you ride by yourself, good luck picking up an ADV bike at a weird angle off-road. You're not going to be able to do it. The average aging father really can't buy a BMW GS, add $4,000 in accessories, and expect to go tackle a BDR. If off-road riding really is your preferred mode of riding and you really want to lean into that, the dual sport is going to carry you so much further and better than an adventure bike would. And speaking of price, a dual sport motorcycle is by and far away better than an ADV in terms of initial purchase price, maintenance, and reliability. Yeah, those KTM cams on the 790 and 890 platforms aren't looking too good, are they? So really the sweet spot that most people have found is the middleweight adventure category. Bikes like the Tenere 700, Touareg 660, or BMW's F900 GS platforms. They're bikes that are a little bit over 400 pounds. They're not quite as unwieldy as the gigantic adventure bikes that people try to sell you, but they have a little bit more on-road prowess than a dual sport, meaning that if you really want to do proper 50-50 riding, and assuming you're not going to tackle crazy single tracks and stuff like that, a middleweight adventure bike might be the right pick. But again, keep in mind that a middleweight adventure bike is a motorcycle that by definition is compromised in nearly every single vertical of motorcycle riding. It's not going to be that good at anything really. A Tenere 700 is a great bike and it's a lot of fun, but it's not particularly fast, it's not particularly willing in corners, it's not particularly great off-road, and it's just not that particularly interesting to ride. It's not very good at anything, which means it's good at a little bit of everything. ADV bikes really are the modern form of the 1960s scramblers. They're designed to do a little bit of everything, a little bit of touring, a little bit of off-road riding, a little bit of twisty road stuff, and for that reason they make a lot of sense. But big adventure bikes really have just become another cash grab for motorcycle manufacturers to try to capture the dentist and lawyer monies that used to go to Harley-Davidson. For many older riders, an ADV is just a flagship, fun, cool toy rather than a practical, useful tool for the application that they're designed for. So look, from my perspective as a guy who likes more specialized machines, even though I do own a scrambler, I have to admit, adventure bikes are cool. They're powerful, they got cool tech, they got all the latest features, and I can see that the motorcycle manufacturers are investing tons of time and effort into this category, meaning that new innovation is cropping up all the time. But for the average person, if you're realistic about your goals and what you're trying to do with motorcycling, there's better options. In my opinion, rather than buying a single middleweight adventure bike, you should get a cheap dual sport and a cheap touring bike. That way you can do one or the other when you really want to. If you really have a specific use case where you need to somehow do super long distance on your motorcycle and get to the trail when you're there, then the middleweight ADV bike does make some sense. But I've always felt that loading a bike up onto a truck and just slabbing comfortably for miles and then getting to your fun location typically makes more sense. Adventure bikes sell the idea of adventurous riding to you, not necessarily the ability, the skills, or the bike to do said adventurous riding. I promise you, if you buy a dual sport and you commit yourself to just ride down the road and kind of suffer a little bit, when you get to the trail, you are going to have so much more fun than all of your buddies on adventure bikes. And you're probably going to be way further up the trail waiting for them to get up the hill because they can't get up the hill, and then you gotta put your bike on a side stand and push them up the hill with their 550-pound bike. From my perspective as a sport bike guy, buying a top-of-the-line adventure bike and expecting to be able to do the stuff that Chris Birch does is really no different than buying a brand new Honda Fireblade and expecting to be Marc Marquez. It simply doesn't work that way. And the industry really is no different than the guys who buy those top-of-the-line leader bikes, outfit them with a bunch of Farkles, and then go out and roll race them. You're using a small iota of what the motorcycle is capable of. In my opinion, the adventure riding fad is really more of a lifestyle choice for motorcyclists rather than a real deal thing. It's a niche style of riding that's become incredibly popular because a lot of people just want one motorcycle that can do a little bit of everything. But we need to be realistic about what these bikes are for, and I really think that you're better off just getting a sport touring bike and a dual sport motorcycle. At the end of the day, ADV bikes really are just two-wheeled SUVs for dads who are a little bit bored. And truthfully, as a newly minted dad, I kind of want an ADV bike. What do you guys think about ADV bikes? Do you think that they're a fad? Do you own one? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks so much for checking out today's video. I truly do appreciate it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Unfortunately for you, this video is now concluded, but fortunately for you, you have caught this video just in time to get entered to win this MT09 SP. Hit the link on yammynoob.co in the description box down below. Become a member. That's the best way to support the show and get entered to win these fantastic giveaway motorcycles. But if you don't think that's cool enough, you'll get access to our Discord server as well too. It's my way of saying thank you to you guys, and I truly do appreciate the support. But click this video right over here and you can keep watching Yammy Noob. And why wouldn't you want to keep watching Yammy Noob? Why? What's stopping you? Huh? Huh? Do I need to come over there?